We have been trying to get specifics on what the intelligence actually was that led Donald Trump to order the strike on Qassem Soleimani last week. And Mike Pompeo has been interviewed multiple times about this. We're not necessarily learning much, but let's see from his appearance last night on the news, what do we know about how imminent the attack was, what it might actually look like? Here he is.
There is no doubt that there were a series of imminent attacks that were being plotted by Qassem Soleimani. We don't know precisely when, and we don't know precisely where.
See what? Look, all right, the where is funny and interesting. We'll get back to that. But if you don't know precisely when, by definition, it was not imminent.
Right, that's the basic part of it, is that is a part of the word imminent, is that it implies that it was imminent, it was about to happen now, or it's about to happen the next day or week,
Which implies you knew when it was happening.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all right, Soleimani might have planned an attack 2.5 years from now, or he might not have.
And also, to what Pompeo just said, is there ever a time where these people are not plotting attacks? Does that mean that we are warranted to go in and do it at will like that? No, that's what they do. That's what terrorists do. As far as we know, historically in modern day, they plot attacks, right? So that doesn't. When they get to a certain stage of it, they're always thinking about it. What defines plotting? I mean, this is so not worth what they did in response. They dig themselves deeper, and again, who knows if it matters.
And let's say their response to what you said would be, yes, he is always plotting attacks. Well, he's not a rogue operator. He's one of the generals of the Iranian military, which means that if you want to have carte blanche, you can take out their leadership whenever you want, declare war on Iran. Because you clearly believe that we are in a state of war with Iran.
Exactly.
That you're justified to take out their political and military leadership whenever you want.
Completely. I was just referring to it as far as imminence, but you are 100% right about that, because that's what would warrant something. It would warrant something like that. There are actors within a government, and then you take on that government. Actually, we took them on by stabilizing them with a nuclear peace deal. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is the way you just suggested.
Yeah.
Well, John,
which obviously I don't support.
No, right.
Well, the other person that agrees with you is Jim Webb. So he's not only a former Democratic senator from Virginia, but he was actually Ronald Reagan's Secretary of Navy. And he said, when did it become acceptable to kill a top leader of a country we aren't even at war with? And so, because under that logic, and they say, oh, well, Soleimani killed a lot of Americans. Okay, wait, when did he kill the Americans? They say, oh, largely during the Iraq insurgency. First of all, that was a long time ago. And by the way, Pompeo had earlier also said something absurd. I mean, it's the Trump administration, but specifically in regards to this, when they had asked him a couple of days ago, what evidence do you have that it was imminent? He said, well, we know because of what he has done in the past. No, imminent means in the future. It doesn't mean in the past, so that's also absurd. But they went so far back about the Iraqi insurgency. Okay, but if we were to accept that logic, again, I don't, but if we were to accept it, well, under that logic, you could drop bombs all across Saudi Arabia all day, all night, because the Saudis funded the Sunni insurgency against our troops in Iraq. That's a fact. So now they say, well, technically we don't know for sure that it was a Saudi government. It might have been just some Saudi, billionaires, princes, etc. Okay, then do we have carte blanche to execute them anywhere on the spot, whether it's in Saudi Arabia or Paris or London, where they go often? So are we gonna just start executing foreign leaders left and right because of what they've done in the past, or because maybe they might do something in the future, which apparently now means imminent?
Yeah. And again, we're trying to drill down, what did it actually look like? Was there anything to this? And so the interview that you saw a bit of earlier, we're gonna give you a little bit more, but understand that Pompeo is gonna have to respond to something that Donald Trump had said yesterday at his rally, where they had been saying imminent attack for days now. But all of a sudden at this rally, Donald Trump came up with, it was the embassies. They were gonna attack all of the embassies. And so Pompeo's asked to respond to that, and here's what he said.
Well, the president said Soleimani wanted to blow up the embassy. Is that accurate? He wanted to blow up the embassy.
It was his forces that penetrated our embassy just a handful of days before that. Kataib Hezbollah warriors, orchestrated, directed by Qassem Soleimani himself. I don't think there's any doubt that Soleimani had intentions not only to take action against our forces, our diplomats in Iraq, but in other countries around the region and world as well.
That does not confirm what Trump came up with, apparently spontaneously at his rally.
Well, politicians are pretty good at getting around in question. If you notice, he did not answer, were they planning to blow up the embassy? He said, well, I mean, they did something in the past, which actually didn't even really cause any casualties at the embassy and didn't really, I mean, barely penetrated the embassy. There's some dispute as to whether it did or not in the reporting. So that doesn't answer whether they were gonna blow up the embassy at all.
Yeah.
And when he doesn't answer it, you know that means there was no such plan.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and now we'll get to see, because that was last night. This morning they have their little press conference, and he's asked about some of the comments he made in that interview, and let's see how capable he is of making what he believes now square with past statements and Trump's recent statements as well.
Mr. Secretary, the administration said this strike was done based on an imminent threat, but this morning you said we didn't know precisely when and we didn't know precisely where. That's not the definition of imminent. The president has also suggested that there was some sort of attack being planned against an embassy, perhaps several embassies. Can you clarify, did you have specific information about an imminent threat, and did it have anything to do with our embassies?
We had specific information on an imminent threat, and those threat stream included attacks on U.S. embassies. Period. Full stop.
So you were mistaken when you said you didn't know precisely when and you didn't know precisely
Nope,
where.
completely true. Those are completely consistent thoughts. I don't know exactly which minute. We don't know exactly which day it would have been executed, but it was very clear. Qassem Soleimani himself was plotting a broad, large-scale attack against American interests, and those attacks were imminent.
Against an embassy.
Against American facilities, including American embassies, military bases, American facilities throughout the region.
That is maddening, because think about what, it's so insulting. What they want you to believe is true is that this man, Qassem Soleimani, he was plotting imminently. So not just plotting in some general sense, but it was about to happen. And it was facilities, bases, and embassies in Iraq and across the region. But taking out just him, it's done. We don't have to worry about it anymore. They were going to attack multiple facilities and military bases across multiple countries. This is the Iranian military, but we took him out, and so now we're good. All of that planning is just gone. No threat anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
And in fact, of course, after you kill their top leader, they want to react less. That's normal, right?
And there's nobody to replace him either.
Yeah,
by the way.
that's what I was going to get to. John, what John doesn't know, he's a rookie, is that Iran has no other generals or colonels or anyone else who could take his place and carry out those so-called imminent threats, which they would be far more motivated to do now that you killed their top general. Okay, so it's all a lie. And it reminds me of the Bush years, when Bush would constantly talk about plots and plans. He'd say, they got plots and plans. Okay, it always sounded like pots and pans. And so there are no plots and plans, okay? And Saddam Hussein, of course, was not connected to Al-Qaeda, and it turns out he did not have weapons of mass destruction, and they had been lying through their teeth the entire time. And now we have more talk about vague plots, and as Edwin, our stage manager, pointed out a couple of days ago, it reminded us of Rumsfeld saying, oh, we know where the weapons of mass destruction are. They're in the north, south, west, and east of Tikrit. Okay, in other words, you don't know, okay? And they never knew and they never existed. And so here we are again. If you, one more thing about that. Mark Esper, the defense secretary, before we did the strike against Soleimani, said we have the right to do preemptive strikes. Now that he knew they were gonna kill the top Iranian general, that's why he said we're gonna do a preemptive strike. Well, a preemptive strike by definition means, well, the Iranians were not yet going to hit us. We decided to hit them first. That's the whole point of a preemptive strike. So now that they're in some trouble over it, all of a sudden, well, you know, I mean, maybe it was imminent. I mean, we didn't know when, but, and he says, oh, that squares. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
2 + 2 = 4, and it also equals 5. And if I say both of those things, I just have to say, not because I'm a Republican, yeah, that means the same thing.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't.
Except it doesn't.
And look, we've talked a lot about this rationale. We talked about it this morning on the Damage Report. We've been talking about it for the first half of the show today. But it's not just like, man, we want to get them for their lie. It's because this is not over. Trump is still president. He will still be president for a minimum of about 1 year. He is still surrounded by people that are desperate to go to war with Iran. And he is just as thin-skinned and irrational as he was when he launched that attack. And if we go out of this entire news cycle and the media and the public has landed on, Yeah, they can be sort of vague, but as long as they say there was some reason to do what they did, they will do that same thing in the future. I don't know how we stop them at this point. They seem bound by literally nothing. But I think that we have to give it the old college try if we want to avoid actual war with Iran in the future.
And the reality is, unfortunately, guys, there really isn't much we can do. I think the last hope was the defense authorization bill, because that needed to pass. And so if we had put a check on there that Ro Khanna or Barbara Lee wanted to do, where we took the authorization of military force away, that's Lee's proposal, or say that you must get approval before you attack Iran, that was Ro Khanna's proposal, and it was attached to a defense bill that must pass, then that would have had teeth, and that could maybe have prevented war, or if it didn't prevent war, could have led to an actual removal of the president through impeachment, because that would be an unbelievable violation of what Congress passed. Now, maybe you say that's not realistic, that we could have gotten that done because of the Republicans in the Senate, but that would have been a college try. That would have been the best attempt at stopping him. Now that that bill is gone, we can and we are doing resolutions, but it's not gonna work and it has no teeth. And no, as long as the Republican senators don't break from Donald Trump, and he can't be removed from office, there's nothing that can stop him. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.